Hey everybody, Brad C. here. I'm out at the farm and I'm going to do an interview on my dad. My dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer about 8 months ago, and he has taken the chemo, and after 6 months he's showing full remission, but he's still going to have what's called the Whipple procedure done. It's basically that's the only way to cure stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and that's to go in and remove a ton of stuff, and it's a very risky surgery and it takes 2 surgeons operating in unison. Very difficult. So I wanted to come out and shoot some footage of Dad on his farm, and we're also going to do a little sit-down interview. But Dad is a working machine. He, after being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, he actually went out and built this fence, this red, white, and blue fence, and I can't even see it from here, but the tree line up there has a fence that Dad climbed up there and put boards along the bottom of the fence to keep his goats in. It's like that whole distance up there that you can see. He was up there working. I could barely walk up there. Dad's 71 years old, but he's definitely not let cancer get the best of him, and he has fought it hard, and he's in full remission right now, so you're going to get to see him in his full glory. And so let's get started. Hey Dad, this has been some good action footage to get here. Are you selling these? Whoa.
$9.50. All right, we thank you, Dan, very much. And hope it does okay for you.
That's the only way to find out.
That's your new GoPro.
Yep, this is the new GoPro. So you can hold it like this, get yourself in the picture.
My.
This is Rambo.
He's Rambo. He's ready to go, I think.
All right.
You want to ride along? You want me to take him for a drive?
You take him for a drive and then I'll get in with you.
Okay.
And I can edit down this footage, obviously, so we'll cut this down, but...
Right. Well, what I'll do is take him over and just up the road a little piece and then right back. That way you can see him moving on the road.
Yeah.
I won't go very far.
Hold on a minute, Dad. Yeah, you go ahead and get on there. All right.
nervous, I spooked him up right in between there, Brad. I spooked him up a little bit to get him to move.
What got him spooked?
I was just, he won't spook unless I make him. I want him to get up in his best gait.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, he just kind of run along. He looked good to make him really get that with his head up and really moving fast. Oh, and he's not spooked. I mean, he'll stop. Woo, Rambo. Woo. He's easy to handle. He'll just stand there. But come on, Rambo. But if I want to get him for his move, all I got to do is just go. Just click to it. Come on, Rambo. That's all it takes. He's a perfect horse.
That's as fast as you ever running.
Oh yeah, you don't gallop. These are buggy horses, and they're not designed to gallop.
Right.
They're designed to do this fast, real fast trot. Woo, Rambo. Woo. Just got across the creek. That bridge was a little bit slick. Ready to fall down.
And the weather's somewhat cooperating. At least it's not raining.
Yeah, it's not raining or snowing. They are calling it snow showers. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, you've driven Rambo before. You know how safe he is.
Oh, yeah.
I just have to right left there. You don't do that. You can fall down.
Now, is this the only horse that you'll put in a buggy?
Yeah. Well, Black Bart, that horse right over there.
That little tiny.
Yeah, he's a buggy horse. Never used him much at one, but I have.
You can't take him across that water, can you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, my.
And we're doing if we had him.
Pretty smooth ride.
Oh yeah. Woo, Rambo. Okay. I'll tie him up here. You can hold the line for just a second. He's not going anywhere.
Okay.
There, Rambo. Woo.
Whoa.
There we go. Okay, you let go, Brad.
Whoa.
Woo, Rambo.
He's still walking.
Yeah.
Oh. Have you ever got hurt by these horses, Dad?
Oh, I've been kicked and run over and thrown off, and I've had buggies like that I've been riding on, and the horses take off, and I see they're heading through a fence, and I just pile off and roll. I had a team of young Belgian horses one time that were pretty well broke, and but I'd worked them a lot in the winter when they weren't real frisky. And then summer came and I wormed them and they got eating grass and everything, and I took them out to work them and they took off running. I couldn't hold them. They just headed out through that meadow and headed right down toward there was a fence and went out through the field right there. And they were running right toward that fence, and I knew we were going to go through that fence. I couldn't hold them. So when they made the turn and headed toward that fence, I was on a cart, something like this. I just bailed off. They went right through that fence, ripped right through that fence, and and came running right here to the barn and tried to, two of them tied up side by side in a cart. And they couldn't both get through that door, but when I caught them, that's where they were, trying to get in the barn door.
Oh my!
Yeah, I've had all kinds of escapades. I've had horses kick me and stomp me and everything you can imagine.
I thought these Belgians are supposed to be gentle.
Well, if they're well broke, but any horse, they've got it built into their nature with fight or with flight.
Yeah.
So anytime something spooks them, it's just natural for them to run away from it. So once they get spooked and they get to running and there's a lot of noise behind them, they'll keep running. So, I mean, even a well-broke horse, you never know when it's going to take off. Not very often, you know, if they're well-broke, you don't have that to deal with, but you just never know for sure with a horse what they're going to do. And that's all you want to do with Rambo, wasn't it? Just a buggy ride.
Yeah. Take it back here and show me these horses and tell me a little bit about them.
Okay.
Now, how many Belgians do you have right now?
I've got 4 big mares, and then I've got 1 Belgian stud colt, and that's all I've got in the way of Belgians. The rest of them are riding horses, buggy horses. But that mare right there is a nice mare I got in Amish country, and she had a colt last year.
What's her name?
That is Dolly.
How old is she?
She's about 6. And this is Nell. She's also about 6. She had a colt. All these horses are well broke. And then this is Polly. She's a nice, well broke mare. And this mare I just got up in Amish country a few months ago, and she's due to have a colt April 4th, I think.
I thought you said she had a colt, the one you hid.
Yeah, no, that colt I hid is out of this mare back here.
Ah.
Yeah, out of this mare back here.
Yeah. See, Dad had some Amish people come in earlier and buy a colt, and he hid the fatter colt so they wouldn't see it. he said he pulled a Grandpa Coaston. Did you learn pretty much everything you know about horses from Grandpa?
Oh yeah, he was a horseman. He forgot more about horses than I'll ever know. He was the best horseman that I've ever met. Harness, he could do anything with harness, to adjust it, fix it. Yeah, he broke horses for people that nobody else could ride or nobody else could work, and he'd take them, and back then that was all he did for a long time, was break horses for people. He'd only charge like $25, and he'd take a horse for a month or two that nobody else could ride or drive. And he used what they called a running W. Before he ever started with a horse, he'd just put these ropes on them, and he wouldn't even have a bridle or a saddle or anything, just the ropes. Just turn them out the barn door here, let them take off running with those ropes on, and he would pull that rope, and it was a system that would pull their front feet up and throw them down, and he would throw them and teach them that he had control. And then he'd start putting a saddle on and a bridle, and he'd get on and ride them, and I'd hold the rope, and if they started to try to buck and throw him off, I'd pull the rope and stop them. Then when I got a little bit older, then we reversed roles, and I did the riding and he did the rope throwing.
Right, I was gonna say, I don't remember Grandpa ever riding.
That was when I was, when he was a little bit younger, he did the riding, but then he got where he wasn't safe to ride, and I did the riding.
Uncle Jim or Uncle Dave wasn't getting on there.
No, they weren't. They weren't going to mess with horses. No, Grandpa Compson and I were the horse people. Yeah.
Now, where's your mules and donkeys and all
Well,
that?
I've only got the one mule. He's out back here. We'll have to walk around the barn here.
Yeah. Now, tell me about all these buildings. You know what?
Well, this building right here, we always called it the grain house because Grandpa Cumston and his dad, they lived here on the farm. My grandfather, Edward L. Cumston, I was named after. He bought this farm, and he bought the next farm up the road, and he bought a lot of properties, oil and gas royalties and all that. And but anyway, he bought this and lived here, and then my dad lived here, and now I live here. But they used that to store grain for the animals, and they had big bins, so where they put the grain in. So they called that the grain house, and it's just an old log building. Then this white building here is where Grandpa Cumston, he was a big fox hunter, and he kept, he'd have anywhere from 20 foxhounds. I've seen him as many as 50 foxhounds, because he would like sell 30 at a time to people that were looking for deer dogs. And so he'd gather up a bunch of dogs that would chase deer, and then he'd sell them to people, and he made a lot of money doing that.
And
Anyway,
he could sell them to people that would hunt deer down south.
Right, yeah.
Up here, nobody hunts deer.
Nobody wanted a dog up here that run a deer. The dog was worthless up here.
Right.
Because you wanted to run foxes or raccoons or something like that. So he'd get dogs that nobody wanted up here, and he'd get them for like $5 or $10 a piece. And he'd sell them to these guys down south for like $50 or $75 a piece. And they'd come up and they'd buy 20 or 30 dogs at a time. He'd have dogs tied. He had big pens that came out here in front of that building. And he had pens out here by the creek. He had a bunch of pens, dog pens out there.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
He'd have a whole bunch of dogs, and then he'd have a bunch tied up on top of the barn. In the loft, he'd have them tied everywhere up there. And so, yeah, but he had big pens that came way out here in the yard, and the dogs ran out in those pens.
Now, can we look in the grain house, or is that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Have you got it cleaned out?
No, it's not real clean. Yeah, you can go in there and look. It's just an old empty building now.
Oh, wow.
I just use it to store junk that I can't put somewhere else.
It's got log rafters.
Yeah, it's an old log building. Uncle Dave and I have jacked it up. It was sinking down the ground and leaning really bad. Now here's the Mammoth Jack,
Can you get him to come over here?
Tennessee. Come on, Tennessee. Come on.
I forgot my boots.
Come on.
Bring him up closer.
Come on. He's kind of running his legs today. What's wrong with him? Come on, Tennessee. Come on. Come on.
Now watch this. This is a
That's a Mammoth Jack. It's a donkey, and a male donkey is called a jack, and a female donkey is called a jenny or a jennet. And if you breed a male donkey to a female donkey, then you get a male jack or a female jenny. But if you breed a jack to a mare, then you get a mule. And the mule is a hybrid. It's a crossbred between a donkey and a horse.
Right.
And the mule is way tougher. Is way tougher than a horse. They can do a lot more work. And a donkey is very friendly compared to a horse. I mean, they're like a dog. They want to be around people, whereas a horse is more like a cat. They're independent. They could really care less whether you have anything to do with them or not. But donkeys and mules, they love people, just like a dog.
Huh. Surprised they're not more popular.
Well, they can be stubborn. People call them stubborn, but actually they're just very careful with what they do. They're very careful where they put their feet. And they say a horse, if the barn catches on fire, a horse, he feels safe in that barn. That's where he stays in the barn. So if the barn catches on fire, a horse will run in and burn up. And a donkey, you couldn't get them in a barn with fire. And if they get into a grain bin, a horse will eat enough grain to kill itself. It'll just eat and eat because it loves grain, and it'll overeat and eat enough that it can die. Whereas a donkey or a mule, they will never overeat. You can turn them loose with all the grain you want, and they won't eat enough to hurt them. They're just smart about taking care of themselves. And that's why a lot of people, they don't want to lead where you want to put them, because they see something that doesn't look safe for their feet, and they won't go.
Right.
So people call them stubborn, but they're actually just smart.
Right.
They take care of themselves.
Now, are they more aggressive though on kicking? You always hear about mules and donkeys kicking.
Actually, no. I mean, the ones I've had have been just you can handle their feet anyway, and I've never had one kick me. Never had one bite me. Yeah, they're actually a very nice animal.
Huh. Now, do you have any mules?
No, I don't. I
used
sold
to.
my mules. Yeah, I used to keep mules, and I could, when I had mules and I used to mow all my hay. I didn't have a mower from a tractor for years. And so I mowed all the hay here in the fields with horses and mules. And I could take a team of mules and work them for 3 hours in the mowing machine, and they'd still be ready to go. And not really too hot and sweaty. But you take a team of horses and hook them up and work them for 3 hours mowing hay, they'd be so sweaty and the water would be dripping off their belly, and they'd just be tired. So a mule is just a lot tougher. They can do a lot more work than a horse. I've got a little rabbit bagel you built me.
Yeah.
Shoot it and show it. I'll just go in there and get it and bring it out. They'll jump up on you.
Oh, okay.
They'll be all over you. And it's pretty dirty in here.
Well, you got a baby.
Yeah, this is a baby. This is a sister, full sister to
Gracie.
Jared's and Amy and the girls' dog Gracie. This is a full sister.
Oh, wow. How
She
beautiful. Don't let Marcia see this thing. My goodness. She'd want this. She is just so gentle, too.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice pup.
Look at that.
And that's its mother right here.
Now, you use these dogs just to run rabbits.
Yeah, just chase rabbits. I don't kill the rabbits. They
Right.
just chase them, and I just like to watch the rabbit bounce around and run.
So you actually seen the physical rabbit before?
Yeah, you see the rabbit ever so often. You don't see it all the time.
Yeah.
They run through briar patches and stuff where they're hard to see. This building right here, that 40-foot long building right there,
Yeah.
that's just a dog kennel. But when I built the pole building, that's this 40-foot building right up here. When I built that, I ordered trusses for the roof for it, and I ordered so many trusses, enough to do the length I wanted to do. And I told them I wanted 12-inch overhang on both ends for the to stick over the edge for the overhang. Wanted 12 inches.
Right.
So they called me after I'd ordered them, and they were supposed to be like $125 for each truss. And they called and they said, we had another guy that ordered the same truss, 40-foot truss, and he got a 12-inch overhang on one side and 9-inch overhang on the other side. And they said he backed out and didn't take them. So if you want what he had ordered, instead of, I think it was 125 a piece, you can have for like $90 a piece. And we'll give you the trusses. Plus, they said, we've got 4 extra trusses that would be more than what you need, and you can have them for free. So they gave me 4 extra trusses, and all the trusses were cheaper. So then I stored those 4 trusses for 5 or 6 years. And finally then I took those 4 trusses and built this 40-foot long dog kennel here. So that was leftover material from the pole building. Now that building there, the dog kennel, it's only, it's 40 feet like the other one, but it's only like probably 14 or 16 feet total. It's not as long as the pole building. The pole building's 40 by 64, I think.
How high is that roof on that pole building?
I don't know. I think it's a 12 or 14 foot opening for the door, and then whatever's above that. But I slid off that.
Right.
I was working on that building one evening, and it started getting cold in the evening. It was up toward winter time, and the roof was wet. And I was putting the very top tin up on the top, and so I was up there, and Rick Cumpston came down and was talking to me, and I sat there and talked to him for a long time. And while I was talking to him, then he left. Then that wet turned to ice. So that whole roof was just a sheet of ice. And I was sitting up there on the top, and I had to get down to
the very
ladder.
top steeple.
I was on the very top, right there in the tip top, sitting up there. And the ladder was right down here, sticking up on the outside edge. And the doghouse wasn't there at that time. There was no dog kennel there.
Right.
And so Jared was in the house. He was living here at home with me. He was the only one of you boys living here at that time. So I knew I had to get off that roof. So I had a piece of foam that I'd been sitting on, and I thought this foam might hold on that roof. So I put my feet in front of me and sat down on that foam and started trying to scoot down that roof to the ladder. And I held on to the top just as long as I could. And then when I finally let go, just the instant I let go, it was just like a steel runner sled. I mean, I went, whew. I came flying. I mean, I was flying down. And when I got to the ladder, I hit that ladder with my feet because I didn't want to fall down on the ladder. So I kicked the ladder to the side, and then I flew through the air and landed on my back right out there. And there was a horse-drawn disc, which I could have been killed on that disc because it had all these sharp things on it and everything. I fell right beside that disc and hit on the ground on my back. When I fell, I mean, I knew I was hurt bad, and I thought I'd broken my back. I laid there for maybe 30 seconds or a minute, and I thought my back was broken. I knew I had a lot of pain somewhere, but after a while, I felt my shoulder. I think it was this shoulder here, and felt the bone sticking up in the shoulder, and I dislocated my shoulder and popped my shoulder out of joint. So it was out, and I couldn't get up. I was hurting so bad I couldn't get up off the ground. So I just laid there, and finally, for some reason, Jared came out to get a book out of the car or something. And when he came out, I said, Jared, I'm up here, and I said, I'm okay. I didn't want to scare him. I said, I'm okay, but I need some help. So he came up, and we had a town car at that time, and he drove the town car right up beside me, and he helped me get up on my feet and get me in the town car and took me into the hospital. And when I got in there, I was in so much pain. I mean, sweating on my forehead, because the pain was terrible with that shoulder out of place. And they wanted to check my ears, and they were wanting to check my blood pressure, and check my throat and everything. And I told them, I said, obviously my bone was sticking up out of my shoulder. I said, all I need is for you just to put my shoulder back in place. And I'll bet I was there for at least 3 hours in that emergency room. And finally, they had 2 doctors that held and pushed and pulled on my arm, and they popped it back in place. It's never come out since. I've never had it jump out again. But
Wow.
yeah, that was.
And that's the only
scary.
thing, you didn't have no broken bones.
No. Well, I broke a collarbone once when I was just a kid, but I was just sliding on ice and fell down and hit my shoulder and broke my collarbone.
Is that when you got the amnesia?
Well, that was another time. I broke my collarbone right here behind the barn, sliding on ice. And
What was you doing behind the barn?
there was ice there and water, and I was just playing with boots, you know,
Ah.
just sliding on the ice. Just a big old little spot there, and when it was frozen up. No, when I got the amnesia, Uncle Dave and I were ice skating. Grandma Compson just bought us ice skates for Christmas, so we were down there on that big creek, and we would run and skate, and then I'd try to come to a sliding stop and kick the ice out like that, and I was running real fast and put my feet down, and when I did, I flipped. Those skates dug in, and I just flopped right over and hit right on my face on the ice, and one side of my face was numb, just you go right down the middle of my face, and that side was numb as could be. And I didn't know anything. Uncle Dave got me up on my feet and walked me back up to the house and got me in the house, and then I had amnesia for all that afternoon and evening, and but then everything started clearing up. That's what Pap James always said was the problem with my brain, was that amnesia where I took that fall on that ice.
Yeah, nothing's wrong with his brain.
No, no, not Pap James.
Now, so and then while we're on this topic, you actually had another rough experience here with you had a goat that gored you in the eye.
Yeah, I had.
That was there used to be a building right there.
Yeah, there was a building right there by those trees, a shed, and the goats would go in there, and I had a goat I was wanting to catch and take to the sale. But every time I'd go out there, when it would go in the entrance, it would see me coming, and it would run back out, and I couldn't trap it in there. So, but one day it was in there back in that little building, and I slipped out there, and when I got out there and I went to running toward that opening, so before that goat could run out, and I was running toward the opening just as fast as I could run to make it stay in there. And as I was running, I thought it was going to run down by me, so I stooped over like that to make it stay in.
Right.
And just as I was running as fast as I could toward the goat, and I was going down like this, the goat went airborne. It went up like that. It flew, and when it did, it hit me right smack in the face. It had big horns on it and everything, and it hit me right in the face, and it just flipped me over backwards and broke my glasses, and it cut my face all up. I had to get a bunch of stitches on my face, and I couldn't see because it had cut my eye around my eyes so bad, and I thought my eyeball was out on my cheek. It felt because it had torn my face up so much. I thought my eyeball had popped out. So you boys were out here playing basketball on the basketball court here in front of the house, and so I came back out here and couldn't hardly see because then my glasses and my face was all cut up, and I didn't want to scare you boys. And I said, "I'm okay." I said, "Don't worry." I went in the bathroom to see, what it was. 'Cause I thought my eyeball was out.
Oh yeah, your eye was. I remember it was
Yeah,
black.
It was bad. Yeah. So I went in the house, and then I saw that my eyeball was in socket, but my face was just cut up where that goat had hit me head on. So I went and got new glasses. I got new glasses, I think, the next day, and came back out that next day and got that goat. I did the same thing. I headed toward the barn, and before he got out, I beat him to the opening. So I got him, took him to stock sale.
Boy, I think I'd have wore a helmet and a shield.
No.
All
I
right.
guess while we're talking about the big accidents I had, I'll remind you the story of, I was going down the road one day with my tractor, and I was driving a little Massey Ferguson 135 diesel tractor down to put up some hay down near David. And so the road was wet and it had like tar on the roads. It was an old tar road, and so it was all real soft because it was so hot that summer. And So I was holding the gas down on it because if I let it go of the handle, it would slow down and wouldn't go as fast. I just wanted to go as fast as I could to get down there. So I was pulling a rake behind that little Massey Ferguson tractor, and I was going to rake the hay, and then Jared was coming behind me with the big Belarus tractor and the baler, and he was going to run the baler and I was going to run the rake, and we were going to put up hay down there. So I'm going around that turn down here at Avon, and just before we get down to the field, it's way down over the hill. I ran over a little bit. I had one hand on the steering wheel. I ran over toward the ditch a little bit too far, and when I did, I kind of jerked it back like that. When I did, the tires caught in the that tar and flipped the tires like that, and just took the steering wheel right out of my hand. So I'm doing whatever maximum I could do, 20 or 25 mile an hour, as fast as that tractor goes. Going down the road, and all at once it turns like that and it shoots right over the hill. And so right down over the hill I went with the tractor, and about halfway down over the hill, the tractor started rolling, and the tractor flipped, and I didn't have a seatbelt on, and I had roll bar on the tractor.
I remember.
And I was sitting down in this, like a place it was hard to get out of, but it flipped me, and when it flipped me, it kind of knocked me out for a second. I don't even remember flying through the air, but I flew out of that tractor through the air and down and landed in front of the tractor, and it's still coming toward me. And when I hit the ground, I woke up just enough then, and I rolled sideways. And when I did, the tractor rolled right over top of where I'd been, and then it turned up on its side, and the motor was still running, and had the tractor sticking up against a tree right there on the side, with the rake behind was of course all twisted and torn up. And the funny thing was, Jared was coming behind me with the big Belarus and the baler, and he thought that I was taking it. When he first saw me go ahead down over that hill, he thought I knew a shortcut to get down to that field where we were going to put up the hay. I don't know if he thought about following me down over there or not, but that was his first idea until he saw me wrecking.
Oh my goodness.
But that was another one of my 9 lives. That,
you fell off the bridge too once down here.
Yeah.
Should we we walk down here to the bridge and you can...
Well, I didn't actually fall off. What happened, we had an old bridge down here that was a lot lower, and it didn't have the big pipes and the big boards like this one.
Yeah.
And as you can see, with this bridge, you go up like a ramp, and the other one was like level, so it was lower, and it didn't have heavy boards on it like this one, didn't have great big pipes underneath of it like this one. So I was taking some cows and calves and a bull into the sale in Weston. I had a guy hauling for me, and so he came across that bridge with his truck, but that bridge was not strong enough to hold that truck. And so he came up here and loaded up the cows and the bull and the calves, and he headed down this way, and I meant for him to go across the creek right down here.
Right.
That's the way we always went out of here with big trucks. And I saw him heading toward this bridge, and I was up here, and I started waving like that, trying to get him stopped before he went up on the bridge, and he didn't see me. And he drove up on the bridge. When we got about halfway across the bridge, the board started cracking and breaking, and the next thing you know, he fell down through the bridge, and the truck was turned up kind of like that, with the rear end hanging down inside the bridge.
Oh my goodness.
And the cows and the bull and everything slid to the back of the trailer, and it was one of the big old trucks that had a wooden racks on the side racks and back racks. And so then he was stuck in the bridge, and the cows were all back in the back, and they were stomping and carrying on. And I had to climb in there, because you climb over top of it and get down there with them, and tried to get the gate open to let them out the back. And I couldn't get the gate open, so I had to come back and get my chainsaw and take the chainsaw and cut that guy's racks where I could get in there. And then I got in there with the cows. Of course, they were all striking and kicking and everything, and I got their heads and their feet and fought around with them and got them dumped out, and they fell out in the creek when they got out of the back of that truck. Ended up, one cow had a broken leg, and one calf died. It was mashed, because that big bull and those cows and everything, they slid all the way to the back of that truck.
Oh wow.
And had that calf trapped. and the calf was dead, and one cow had a broken leg, and then the rest of them got out and went up through the creek here, and so that was and then after that, then we put a new bridge in here. It's a lot heavier duty, and I built it up higher and put a lot bigger pipes in it. So that bridge now will hold a pretty big truck.
You have any kind of ton limit, or you just know it's
I don't really know what the ton limit would be on it, but it's a pretty strong bridge.
as long as it's not a tractor and trailer?
Yeah, it's not as long as it's really heavy.
Now, but you fell off here and cracked a rib somehow.
Yeah, I cracked the rib. I was putting the boards on across, and so they were separated out so far apart like that across here, and your mom hollered and said somebody was on the phone. I think Uncle Dave was on the phone. So I was over on that end, and I started running to get across, and I was running and there was nothing but just a board here and a board there. There were no boards through to walk on. So I was running from board to board and trying to get over to the phone, and I missed a step and went down and hit my chest right on the board that went across, and it bruised the rib. I don't think I broke it or cracked it, but if I coughed or anything like that, it hurt a lot.
Yeah, so you fell into the water.
Well, I fell down. No, I didn't fall in the water. I just fell and hit my chest on that board. And I got back up.
And you pulled yourself back up. But you could have fell on down.
Oh, I could have. Yeah, it was open, clear down into the water, but it wasn't deep. That wouldn't have been big.
No. Now, what's the highest you've seen this creek up?
It's been up where the water was over to the inside the edge of that fence there.
Yeah.
It's never been up in the house.
As far as I ever remember it.
Yeah, it was there in the corner. So all these fields here are, I've seen them flooded many times.
Right.
It was completely over all these fields right here. And it would get over this area here.
Now, in the 1950 flood, when you was a kid.
Yeah, we were sleeping upstairs in that house in 1950, and there was a big, they called it, I forget what they called it, but I think it was 9 inches of water came down real quick, and it got up 5 feet inside that house. And so we were all sleeping upstairs, and my mother heard the furniture floating and bumping around on the ceiling. They didn't know the water was in the house. We were all upstairs asleep, and Uncle Dave wasn't born yet, and so it was me and Mother and Daddy and Aunt Trans and Uncle Tim, and we were sleeping upstairs. And so my mother said, "Rex, I think there's somebody breaking in downstairs." So he got out of bed and started down the steps to see what was going on, and as he started down the steps, he walked into water. So we were stranded upstairs in that house, and a lot of houses down through this country broke up. There was one guy, Sam McKinney, he had, I think he had like 8 or 9 kids, and his wife, and he was out somewhere that night when the flood came, and that house of his broke up. A lot of houses with that much water pressure pushing through them that deep, it would break the house up and float the house away, and then if the people, couldn't get out, they died. And Sam McKinney lost his wife and all of his kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there were a lot of houses that were destroyed. And it was a major flood in 1950, and so it was up in that house 5 feet inside that house, and then after that, the house was full of mud and it was nasty. And it was an old house anyway at that time. It wasn't very good shape. So we had to move out, and we moved up here and moved into an old abandoned one-room schoolhouse. Had no electric, no water, nothing. It was just a place with a roof over it. And that's where we lived for like about a year and a half up there. And then while we were living up there, my dad and Wilbur Davis built a little block house right up there.
Right.
Yeah, that's where I was raised, and we moved into that. And I was 2 years old. I was born in '48, and that flood was 1950, so I was 2 years old when that flood happened here. And we moved in up there when I was probably 3 or 4, and that's where I was raised, right up there in that block house. but it's going now.
Now,
Yeah, that
then what?
was a
What?
major flood.
So what? Let's move on down this way. We'll get away from the water a little bit. What made you decide that you wanted to live in this house? Because it was just a shell of a house.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was a shell house. Like the porch there had all collapsed. That porch roof was collapsed and clear, hanging down, and the rooms inside the house, for now the living room, and the bedroom right there in the front, and the 2 bedrooms upstairs, they had good floors in them. But if you went any further back in that house, it was just dirt. All the floors had rotted out, and the walls were falling down, and I mean, it was an old abandoned house, but I'd always wanted to live there. And people called that the big house. I don't know why it got to be called the big house.
Well, it's pretty big around here.
Yeah, I guess, but it was called the big house, and so I wanted to live there. So when we moved back from Virginia, where I'd taught my first year of school, was in Front Royal, Virginia. When we moved back, we stayed up here in the house Uncle Jim owned, the Bubby House. And your mom and I lived up there for, I don't know, 8 months or whatever. And during that time, Grandpa Cumpson helped me, and we put new floors in the house and ran wiring and, did some plumbing and just made enough where we'd get in there and live. It wasn't finished for years and years. And we got in there, and that's where your mom and I moved in there then and lived. And since then, I've done a lot of work and added a lot of things to it. But, it was an old abandoned house that was falling down. But I just always wanted to live there.
It's pretty cool.
Always liked it.
Pretty cool that Grandpa Cumpson could basically do all the work.
Yeah, he could
you didn't bring anybody in to do anything
Yeah.
else?
Uncle Ronnie came in and helped with the electrical wiring, particularly like the box outside where you have to know what you're doing.
Okay.
But Pap Cumpson and I did most of the wiring. Uncle Ronnie helped a lot with things, but Pap Cumpson and I did almost all of it, as far as everything inside. And he was famous for being a rough carpenter. He would take his chainsaw if he wanted a hole somewhere and just take the chainsaw and go zzz, nails flying or whatever, and he didn't care. He'd make it work. He was one of those guys that, he didn't care about being perfect, just get it done.
Right. He could get anything done.
Yeah, he knew how to do things.
He's a jack of all tricks.
Yeah. And he enjoyed helping me fix the old house up and make it livable, and he and I farmed together for as long as he lived.
Now, what's the story on the bee's nest up there and you and Grandpa on that top of that roof?
Yeah, we were working out
Scoot
on
up
that.
a little closer here. We'll get a little closer where we can see.
Oh, okay.
All right, so what's the story on the bee's nest?
Oh, the bees? Well, you see the 2 windows up there, the one over on the left. We were out working on that porch roof, working on the eaves trough, and Pap Cumpson and I were. And we got a big bee's nest stirred up. And I mean, the air was thick with those bees, and they were trying to sting both of us. And so my dad and I both tried to run and get in that window. We had that window open. And we both tried to get in there. Well, he beat me to it and pushed me out of the way. And he got himself in that, and he was kind of old at that time and wasn't real agile. And so he got himself in there on his hands and knees, and then he just kind of stayed there. Well, I'm out there still fighting the bees. So I had to take him and just shove him on through the window so I could get in there and get away from the bees too. That was another trick that Pap Cumpson did with me with the bees. Was one time his sister, my Aunt Peg, she'd bought a house up here around Clarksburg area, and she had a garage. And he and I went up to help her get moved in, and we were going to help her clean that garage out. And there was a big nest, a big bunch of bumblebees back in there in a blanket that was back in the back of that garage. And we had to get that nest of bees out of there. So Pap Cumpson came up with a plan. And his plan was that he would take a pitchfork, and he would reach in, he and I would both go in there, he'd take a pitchfork and get a hold of that blanket that was full of the bumblebees, and he gave me a stick and wrapped it with rags and put oil on them, and then put that on fire, and so I could kill the bees with that stick. And so he lit the fire, and I'm holding the stick wrapped with the oily rags, and got the fire going. And he goes in with me, and he takes a pitchfork, big old long pitchfork, and he grabbed that blanket and threw it off on the floor, and then he took off running outside. And I'm in there with the fire trying to fight those bumblebees. So that was just another story with Pat Gunston and the bees. You never knew with him. Yeah, he had me paint a church down here at Union Mission, the bell tower on the Union Mission, and he took about 3 great big long wooden ladders, old wooden ladders that were really not in good shape, and he tied them together, and he leaned them up on that bell tower on that church down here at the Union Mission Church, and it was really high, and he ran those out in the road, and then he had me go up that ladder with a paint and a brush and a paint bucket and go up and paint that roof on that bell tower. Oh boy, it was scary. Whatever Pat Gunston said to do, I always did it.
Yeah, I remember.
Uncle Jim and Uncle Dave weren't quite so cooperative. If he wanted something done, he'd call on me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uncle Jim be the last one he'd call on.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We'd have to haul manure out from behind the barn there, and have horses and a sled, and have to take pitchforks and pick up the manure and throw it on the sled and haul it up in the field. And Uncle Jim, he didn't like it a bit. If you'd splash a little bit of manure on him, he was very upset.
Oh.
Your Uncle Jim liked to train you to paint. Remember, he wanted to
Oh, yeah.
teach you to paint. He could paint all day and hardly have a drop of paint on him.
He only had about 3 drops, and those 3 were all from me when I would accidentally splash.
Yeah.
He got no paint on him.
Yeah.
The problem was I was scared of bees and scared of heights, so
Oh,
that's a bad business to be in when you're painting. But he that was his thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's. Now this barn here, is that something that Grandpa Custom built?
No, that barn was there. I think when my grandfather bought this farm, I think the barn was already there. He bought the farm in like 1910. He bought this farm about 1910. I think the barn was built before that. But it's a well-built barn. The roof really needs painted or replaced on it now, but it's well built. It's still really strong, and they put a good stone foundation clear around it, and it's got cement floors in it. Some of the cement's getting kind of old, but it was a well-built barn.
Yeah.
And of course, this garage right here by the house, that was Connie's idea to build a garage there. I kind of hated to take the old basketball court where you boys had played basketball and everything, but she was right. That was the best place for it.
Oh yeah.
And
hey, you always claimed it was going to be a garage eventually, whenever we was little, but it never seemed to turn into that. We lived on that basketball court.
Yeah, there was a basketball pole right there in the front of that where you boys always played basketball, and I hated to take that down. Johnny Nicholson was down here one day with a bulldozer, and he said, "Edward, you need to get that basketball pole out of the way. That's right there in your way." And I said, the boys are growing up and going and everything, but I said, that's a keepsake. You can see the basketball pole right up there.
Right.
And it was standing right here where the garage is now. And I said, no, I can't take that pole down. I said, that's, too sentimental for me. The boys have played there. I can't do it. And Johnny kept after me. He said, "Edward, that pole is in your way." He said, "I'm going to shove it over that dozer." So I said, okay. So he shoved that pole over. It had a big block of cement. I'd run a big bunch of cement to hold it right there. And so he shoved it over. And the next day it got to bother me so much, I went up there where it sits now and spent the whole day and dug by hand a great monstrous hole, because it had a big block of cement on it that I had to deal with. I couldn't get it off. It was attached to that post. So I had to dig a huge hole. I spent the whole day digging that hole and running concrete by hand in a wheelbarrow, and I reset that pole up there. So at least your pole was saved.
Yeah.
It was moved. And then Connie came up with the idea of that garage right there, and she was right. That was a good idea because now we can drive in there, and we got heat in there, and we can walk out of that and right into the house, and there's a roof over everything we do there, and so we never have to get out in the rain or the snow. And that garage is the Amish guys built that, and I forget what like the basic price. It added up when I started adding things like insulation inside and all that, but for the basic building it was like $12,000. And I had some guys from around this local area that gave me an estimate on exactly the same building, and they were like $3,000 higher. But the Amish came in and they did everything in, I think it was 2 days.
Wow.
They did the whole building.
Now they did the Amish that did your wraparound porch.
That was our Amish friends that come down from Berlin and Charm area. They come down. I used to rent like 2 15-passenger vans every summer, and I'd go up and bring down about 30 of the Amish, Grandpa Henry and all of his kids and grandkids, and they'd come down and spend like 2 days, and they'd do one day some kind of a work project to help me here on the farm. So like one year when they came down, they did half that vinyl siding. They did this side and the front one year. And then the second day we'd just have a play day. We'd play volleyball and just have a good time. And then I'd take them all back home. And then the next year they came down, they did the other half of the house. And now this wraparound porch, that was Connie's idea too. That really added a lot to the house, made it look a lot nicer. That was her idea to do that. And the Amish did that as a project. They put that porch on for me.
Wow.
I had the floor ready, but they did the posts and everything and put new posts out through that way. But the Amish did that, didn't charge me anything for it. And then about 2 years ago, I think we put a brand new roof on the whole house. And some of our Amish friends came down and they didn't charge anything for their labor. All I had to do was pay for the tin.
Can't beat that.
And yeah, they got here like at, I think 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and by 10:30, they had all the old roof off and all the new roof on, ready to go. It was about I think it was 6 Amish boys. They were just, anywhere from 15 to 22, 23 years old. 2 of them were roofers. That's what they work at. But they were good.
How did you meet the Amish?
I went to a big horse sale up in Dover High and ran into a guy named Ivan J. Yoder. And he had 2 horses there that I really wanted. And so I talked to him a lot about the horses while I was there at the sale, so I got to know him that way. And then when the horses went through the ring, I bid on them, but I didn't quite get high enough, and somebody else bought them. So I was the back bidder. So I jacked the price up and helped him, of course, by me bidding. So he was glad to, built the price up on his horses. And then, so I didn't see him then after that for about 2 years. And one day your mom and I were up in Amish country just driving through the country. And I was looking to buy a couple of horses again. I had some horses here at the time, but I was looking to buy a couple more. And so we just stopped along the road up there in Amish country, and this guy was out there working, and it was Ivan's dad, John Yoder. And he was out there working. I just stopped and I said, "You don't happen to know anybody that would have horses for sale?" And he said, "I don't." He said, "My son Ivan might." And so he said, "He's right up there." So I walked up the bank, and there was Ivan up there mowing with his horses on the bank. And he remembered me. And so he just tied his horses up and left them and jumped in the vehicle with me and your mom. And he went with me and found 2 different neighbors that had horses to sell. And I bought those 2 horses that day. So that was how I hooked up with Ivan. And then once I hooked up with Ivan, then I kept going back up and visiting him and his wife Esther and their kids. And I went up and stayed with them some, and I'd help them pick corn by hand and stuff like that. Johnny Nicholson actually went with me once and stayed overnight up there at Ivan's.
Really?
And we picked corn. Yeah, Ivan had a team of horses that were so well trained. You go out in the cornfield where you're picking the corn, he had a wagon behind it. You threw the corn in. And so he didn't even drive. Once he'd get the horses in the field, in the corn, he'd stop them. And then we'd just start picking the corn and throwing it just as far as we could throw it from both sides. And when we would get up close to where the horses were, then they would just walk forward for about 15 feet and then stop. He didn't say get up. He didn't say whoa. Those horses knew to move forward, and then they'd stop. We'd keep picking corn, catch up again, get up beside the horses, and they'd move forward all the way through the field. That's the way it worked.
Wow.
But anyway, that's how I met Ivan, and then from that, I met the rest of his family, and that's the crew that's been coming down for a long time.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. Film around here. We'll go in and take a look at your garage you got.
Oh yeah.
You got here.
You have to see the Corvette that you boys watched for me.
Oh yeah. Now, what about this thing here first, Dad? This you built that. What's that? What's that deal?
That's a little building that really is just meant to cover up all the gas pipes. I've got a whole bunch of gas pipes and stuff that we have free gas from. So that was kind of a cover, and then that gray thing there is a generator. It runs off the free gas. So if our electric goes off, then that kicks on automatically and puts electric back in the house. And that's what it is. It's just a generator.
It can run everything, right?
It'll run everything.
You literally don't
Costs
know the
like
difference.
$7,000. Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, it'll run everything. It's automatic, and it'll run the refrigerator, freezer, anything you've got. It's got plenty of power.
Now, how did you end up getting free gas?
Well, there were wells that were drilled up here on the farm.
Right.
So that's part of the deal. Whenever you have a well on your farm. Here's the garage. There's the Corvette that you and Aaron and Jared bought and brought in and gave for me to play with. I was really surprised. Saw Jared come driving across the bridge with the girls. Had the top down and had the girls sitting up on the back of that Corvette. And I thought, what are they driving that Corvette over here for? And they got over and I said, Jared, did you buy a Corvette? He said, no, this is yours. I said, Brad, Aaron and I bought it for you. So I've had a lot of fun with that Corvette. And as you can see, it's a beautiful car.
Oh yeah.
That's the fourth Corvette I've had. I had one first year your mom and I got married, 1963 model.
Wow.
But,
Those are very valuable now.
yeah, that's 63, and it was a red one, just like this one. It had a red hardtop, and then you take that red hardtop off on it, and it had a black convertible top, just like that one right there. You know, this is the garage. It's all finished. The Amish did all this.
Oh, there's your bulldozer.
Yeah,
We'll take a look at it.
bulldozer.
Now, you just sold this bulldozer.
Yeah, sold it. I've had it for about 8 or 9 months.
It was probably a little bit too big for.
Yeah, it was a little bigger than I really needed on the farm. A little overkill.
Are you thinking about getting a smaller one, or?
Well, sometime, you know, I might. Yeah, I might get a smaller one, or maybe just rent. Warren B's, he's got a little D3. This is a D5. He's got a D3. More of the size for a farm.
Well, you got a fair amount of use out of it, though. You got
yeah,
trails cleared. And...
Yeah, I did a lot of work for the Stewarts. I went over all their trails and cleared them and shoved trees that had fallen down. And then Johnny Nicholson did a lot of work for me. He's the real operator. Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to climb up here and look the inside of it or not, Brad.
Yeah.
I'll open the door.
You got it all
Yeah, I
cleaned
it
out.
Oh yeah, I detailed it out. It was not like that when I bought it.
No.
It was really nasty.
No.
All the cloth was falling down and about 2 inches of dirt through it.
Be careful, Dad. My goodness, this is kind of slippery.
Yeah. A little dangerous.
We're not looking to do another 9 Live expedition.
No, I don't need another one of those.
You're at 9.
I'm pushing 11. Yeah, there's the, if you want to get a picture of the house at this angle, there's the old cellar house.
Now, what was this cellar house used for?
It's just, the only thing I know, it's been used for storage.
Yeah. I mean, down here you used to can.
Well, we used to have, yeah, things down there that you'd store for the winter, potatoes. And
What's in there now? Can you open that up?
yeah.
What's in there?
Oh, it's just junk.
I've never even been in there since I was a kid.
Is that right?
No.
It's just full of junk. Oh, there's a light switch there. Might work. I don't know. Nope, the bulb's burned out.
Yeah, you can see kind of in here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a fair amount of room.
Yeah.
But what's that big trough back here?
That's the bin where you like store potatoes and stuff in.
Huh. I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had this cleaned out when I was a kid.
Well, I cleaned it out and I ran new cement. This is a cement floor that I ran. I ran this by hand. Yeah, it didn't have any cement, just a wooden floor or a dirt floor when I moved in here.
In the upstairs used to be a weight room.
Yeah.
Where me and the boys had our weightlifting equipment. Now it's kind of a.
All the stores are junk now.
Oh, it's just a storage. I see.
You can open it up and look in there. But we put new carpet on the floor and painted the walls.
Oh yeah. You did a couple bunk beds or a couple of beds up here, didn't you?
A couple of cots, yeah. They're upstairs in the long room.
Whoops. You want to toss that up? Right, look at the pole building. Hold on, Dad. I'm going to hit pause here for a second.
That thing must have a good battery if you're able to take this long.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good battery, and I've got another battery, a spare battery.
Yeah.
Now, what's the story on that overhang out there, Dad? Didn't Grandpa Compston build that from...
Yeah, he just went up in the woods and cut, those are white oak trees. Those things that run underneath the roof.
The Stewarts claimed that he cut it off their property and then asked them about it later if he could use it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. He cut it off up here on the Stewart property. They were just small white oak trees. He figured they weren't worth too much. So he went up there and cut them down. But that's how that pipe, all that's just free material. He didn't have a penny in that. The pipe was pipes left over from when they did a gas line out of this hollow.
Oh, yeah.
So when they abandoned the pipe, then he took the pipe, and that's how he got that pipe. And then the white oak trees, he cut up here on the Stewart. And that tin was some old junk tin that somebody gave him. So he didn't have anything invested in that building. And I've used it, for a long time, and it's still holding up. Just a nice place to store stuff.
It is pretty heavy duty.
Yeah, this corral here, I've rebuilt it a few years ago. Connie helped me. We took a drill and drilled all the holes with a tractor and put new treated posts in, and just put these boards up. Did that 2 or 3 years ago. That's a new corral.
Here's your chickens.
Yep.
What got you the idea to...
Oh, I'd always wanted chickens to have my own eggs. They produce. There's 7 chickens, and there's just 6 of them right here, I think. Yeah, 6 of them here. But they produce 7 eggs most days. With winter like this, they're slowing down a little bit. Oh, out here you can see this board that Bobby Swagger put on there. It says this fence was designed, engineered, erected, and supervised by Connie. And the funny thing was about that sign, those are big words. Designed, engineered, erected, supervised.
Yeah.
Rebecca, Jared's girl Rebecca, came out here 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, she was just a little girl, and she could read every one of those words. She looked at that and she said, designed, engineered. I mean, she could read it.
Oh yeah.
And Rebecca is, she really is
She's an elite reader.
a good reader.
She may be the best reader in our family.
Yeah, she's good. Now, this one's thrown over. It says sawed by Ed. I sawed this board on a guy's mill down here. I sawed a lot of these. No, not a lot of these boards. I sawed some of them.
Yeah.
This guy down the road did the sawing. Junior, get his last name right now.
All right, we'll take a look at your pole building. So you say it's 40 by what?
40 by 64 is the building, and then this overhang that I did here this last year, I think it's 30 by 64. So that just gave me some extra storage, and of course we ran a lot of cement here. That was probably 20 yards of cement. Let me turn the lights on, if that'll help.
Yeah.
Connie's tractor here. You see her license plate on the back. She used to mow all the grass in the summers here for us, but now she started using the John Deere riding mower. Right here it says Connie's toy. And this carriage is dirty right now. It's dusty, but I've used that in a couple of weddings for people. But
This is Jared and Amy's wedding.
yeah, I did Jared and Amy's wedding, I think, in that one, or maybe another wagon I had. I've forgotten if I had this back when they got married or not. May have. Yeah, this is, I've kind of worked the last few days and cleaned up this side over here. It was, the chickens have been jumping up on here and they were knocking everything off, and it was all on the floor. So I've cleaned and reorganized everything, spent quite a few hours out here. Matter of fact, you can see a chicken back here now, up there on the thing. That's what they do. They want to get up high, and then they knock all my stuff off.
Looks like you got some messy area right here, Dad.
What's that? Well, that's my son Brad. That's Brad's story, Jerry. He brought those bathtubs in here years ago, and he said, "I'll have these sold in about 2 months, Dad. They won't be here long." And then he brought these things in, and he said, "Now, Dad, these are very valuable. Don't throw them away." This is a horseshoeing stock where you can bring a horse in there and you put chains over the back and under the belly and back behind them where they can't jump up, they can't fall down. Then you pick their feet up and put them on these things right here to work on the front of the feet, and then you lift their leg back and put your foot back here on this place right here. I built this all by hand. I had another old shoeing stock that was much smaller. They had the metal on it, so I just took the metal off the old one, and then I built this myself.
Yeah, that's a heavy duty one. I don't think I've ever seen one that heavy duty.
No, it's everything's bigger. Like the old one had like a 4 by 6 post, and these are 6 by 6, and the old ones had like one layer of boards underneath, 2-inch boards, and I put 2 layers of 2-inch boards. And so yeah, it's heavy duty. It'll hold about anything. You can catch a horse in there and trim their feet or put new shoes on or whatever you need to do. This Kubota here is a tractor that belongs to the neighbors, the Stewarts, and they just store it here. If I need it, I use it. They're pretty good neighbors.
I'd say. It looks like you keep it pretty cleaned up, though.
Yeah, I did wash it the other day. We got it out and, I got a little bit dirty, but yeah, I had it all cleaned up. It was like new. And I cleaned my John Deere up the other day. It's a little bit dirty now. I've been using it some, but that's a tractor right there that is perfect for the farm.
Yeah.
Just the right size.
Oh, yeah. And you've got a forklift on the front, too, where you can...
Yeah, I've got a bucket and I've got forks both.
And that setup lets you just drive into it. You don't even have to have anybody on the ground.
No, you don't. You can just hook and unhook. Well, you don't have to do anything at all. It's got a quick disconnect. What it is. It's this system right here where you just put these forks underneath that, and then when you put the forks on, it's got the same thing. And it's real easy to hook up. Yeah, this is where I cleaned the last few days.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah, I can see you got everything pretty organized.
Yeah.
I do need to get in here and get some of my junk organized a little bit. Get rid of some of it.
It's a lot of good stuff, like this tin right here.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing in there. It's not valuable.
I mean, that tin right there,
Oh, yeah.
if I need a piece of tin or something, there's a lot of it. A lot of good tin.
So somebody threw that alongside a dumpster.
Yeah, I won't never throw that away. That's too good.
I've got all kinds of those horse, what are those pillows, too, that I found at the dumpster, sitting outside of it.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to do here? Brad, get these horses.
Yeah, let's
get in the house. You're probably getting hungry.
I'm good for now. Let's get the
Cold.
let's get the horses.
Yeah. Are you finished in here? I'll turn the lights out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit cold. Get these horses hooked up and spread some manure here, and then we can go in the house. You need to get your other battery. You still good?
No, I'm still good for now.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm gonna hit this on. All right.
That thing must have a good battery for it to take this long.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good battery, and I've got another battery, a spare battery.
Yeah.
Now, what's the story on that overhang out there, Dad? Didn't Grandpa Compston build that from?
Yeah, he just went up in the woods and cut. Those are white oak trees. Those things that run underneath the roof.
The Stewarts claimed that he cut it off their property and then asked them about it later if he could use it.
Oh yeah, yeah, he did. He cut it off up here on the Stewart property. They were just small white oak trees. He figured they weren't worth too much. So he went up there and cut them down. But that's how that pipe. All that's just free material. He didn't have a penny in that. The pipe was pipes left over from when they did a gas line out of this hollow.
Oh yeah.
So when they abandoned the pipe, then he took the pipe, and that's how he got that pipe. And then the white oak trees he cut up here on the Stewart, and that tin was some old junk tin that somebody gave him. So he didn't have anything invested in that building, and I've used it, for a long time, and it's still holding up. Just a nice place to store stuff.
It is pretty heavy duty.
Yeah, this corral here, I've rebuilt it a few years ago. Connie helped me. We took a drill and drilled all the holes with a tractor and put new treated post in, and just put these boards up. Did that 2 or 3 years ago. That's a new corral.
Here's your chickens.
Yep.
What got you the idea to?
Oh, I'd always wanted chickens to have my own eggs. They produce. There's 7 chickens, and there's just 6 of them right here, I think. Yeah, 6 of them here. But they produce 7 eggs most days. With winter like this, they're slowing down a little bit. Oh, out here you can see this board that Bobby Swagger put on there says this fence was designed, engineered, erected, and supervised by Connie. And the funny thing was about that sign, those are big words. Designed, engineered, erected, supervised.
Yeah.
Rebecca, Jared's girl Rebecca, came out here 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, she was just a little girl, and she could read every one of those words. She looked at that and she said, designed, engineered. I mean, she could read it.
Oh yeah.
And Rebecca she really is
She's an elite reader.
a good reader.
She may be the best reader in our family.
Yeah, she's good. Now, this one's thrown over. This says sawed by Ed. I sawed this board on a guy's mill down here. I sawed a lot of these. No, not a lot of these boards. I sawed some of them.
Yeah.
This guy down the road did the sawing. Junior, get his last name right now.
All right, we'll take a look at your pole building. So you say it's 40 by what?
40 by 64 is the building, and then this overhang that I did here this last year, I think it's 30 by 64. So that just gave me some extra storage, and of course we ran a lot of cement here. That was probably 20 yards of cement. Let me turn the lights on if that'll help.
Yeah.
Connie's tractor here. You see her license plate on the back. She used to mow all the grass in the summers here for us. But now she started using the John Deere riding mower. Right here it says Connie's toy. And this carriage is dirty right now. It's dusty, but I've used that in a couple of weddings for people. But
This is Jared and Amy's wedding.
yeah, I did Jared and Amy's wedding, I think, in that one, or maybe another wagon I had. I've forgotten if I had this back when they got married or not. May have. Yeah, this is, I've kind of worked the last few days and cleaned up this side over here. It was, the chickens have been jumping up on here and they were knocking everything off, and it was all on the floor. So I've cleaned and reorganized everything, spent quite a few hours out here. Matter of fact, you can see a chicken back here now, up there on the thing. That's what they do. They want to get up high, and then they knock all my stuff off.
Looks like you got some messy area right here, Dad.
What's that? Well, that's my son Brad. That's Brad's story, Jerry. He brought those bathtubs in here years ago, and he said, "I'll have these sold in about 2 months, Dad. They won't be here long." And then he brought these things in, and he said, "Now, Dad, these are very valuable. Don't throw them away." This is a horseshoeing stock where you can bring a horse in there and you put chains over their back and under the belly and back behind them where they can't jump up, they can't fall down. Then you pick their feet up and put them on these things right here to work on the front of the feet, and then you lift their leg back and put the foot back here on this place right here. I built this all by hand. I had another old shoeing stock that was much smaller that had the metal on it. So I just took the metal off the old one, and then I built this myself.
Yeah, that's a heavy duty one. I don't think I've ever seen one that heavy duty.
No, it's everything's bigger. Like the old one had like a 4 by 6 post, and these are 6 by 6, and the old ones had like one layer of boards underneath, 2-inch boards, and I put 2 layers of 2-inch boards. And so yeah, it's heavy duty. It'll hold about anything. You can catch a horse in there and trim their feet or put new shoes on them, whatever you need to do. This Kubota here is a tractor that belongs to the neighbors, the stewards, and they just store it here. If I need it, I use it. they're pretty good neighbors.
I'd say. It looks like you keep it pretty cleaned up, though.
Yeah, I did wash it the other day. We got it out and, I got a little bit dirty, but yeah, I had it all cleaned up. It was like new. And I cleaned my John Deere up the other day. It's a little bit dirty now. I've been using it some, but that's a tractor right there that is perfect for the farm.
Yeah.
Just the right size.
Oh, yeah. And you've got a forklift on the front, too, where you can...
Yeah, I've got a bucket and I've got forks both.
And that setup lets you just drive into it. You don't even have to have anybody on the ground.
No, you don't. You can just hook and unhook while you don't have to do anything at all. You know, you just got a quick disconnect's what it is. It's this system right here where you just put these forks underneath that, and then when you put the forks on, it's got the same thing, and it's real easy to hook up. Yeah, this is where I cleaned the last few days.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah, I can see you got everything pretty organized.
Yeah.
I do need to get in here and get some of my junk organized a little bit, get rid of some of it.
It's a lot of good stuff, like this tin right here.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing in there. It's not valuable.
I mean, that tin right there,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
The-
if a guy needed a piece of timber or something, there's a lot of it. A lot of good tin.
So somebody threw that alongside a dumpster.
Yeah, I will never throw that away. That's too good.
I've got all kinds of those horse, what are those pillows, too, that I found at the dumpster, sitting outside of it.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to do here? Brad would get to his horses.
Yeah,
Then
let's-
we get in the house. You're probably getting hungry.
I'm good for now. Let's get the
Cold.
yeah, let's get the horses.
Yeah. Are you finished in here? I'll turn your plate out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit cold. Get those horses hooked up and spread some manure here, and then we can go in the house. You need to get your other battery. It's still good.
No, I'm still good for now.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm gonna hit. Okay, we're ready.
Okay. I need to get Rambo and take him up and get rid of him, so I have room there to get the other horses out.
Okay. This Ranger comes in handy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to do without this. Aaron bought the first Ranger, had and just gave it to me for a gift.
I remember.
That's very generous, very wonderful sons, that's for sure.
I never even noticed, Dad. You've got cement down here where you can.
Yeah.
When did you pour this? I didn't
Well,
know this.
That was left over on the first part of the cement we did up there on the pole building. And then when we did another run, I did that sidewalk
Yeah.
around there, and then the cement out back there too. That way I can go around and get the horses and never be in the mud. Just walk on cement all the way.
Nice.
Yeah, get the horses in and out that gate right there.
Now, what was the idea behind your red, white, and blue fence?
I just like anything that's patriotic, red, white, and blue, and
Right.
I just like things to look sharp.
Right.
So it took a lot of paint. You'd be surprised. And those blue T-posts, those are old, rusted up, used T-posts I had around here, and I just cleaned them all off and wire brushed them. And
You did that recently.
yeah, I did that just a few months ago. Yeah, that's a real strong fence, and it's got electric on it, and so I can put about anything I want in there, and they won't get out.
Except goats.
Yeah, except goats. Yeah, goats can get out of anything. And I'll bring the horses out here and get the bridles on them.
Now, are these pretty much one of the biggest draft horse breeds that you can find?
Yeah, the Belgians, these are Belgians. There's a Clydesdale that everybody thinks is the biggest horse, but they're just famous because of the Budweiser hitch.
Right.
And actually, the average horse in the breed, the Clydesdales aren't as heavy made as the Belgians. And the Belgians are what, probably 80% of the Amish, they use Belgians. And it's the most popular breed. You know, there might be 8 Belgians and 1 Clydesdale and 1 Percheron. Those are kind of the 3 main workhorses. But yeah, the Belgians are bigger, broader, and actually they're the best workhorses.
You need me to do anything, Dad?
No, I can get back. If you don't want to use a lot of your taping time on this, because this is just getting things ready.
You almost need a stand to get up there, Dad.
Yeah.
You're not quite tall enough.
She doesn't usually do this. Easy, girl. Easy. I just wait till she calms down a little bit.
Yeah, possible this camera's scaring her a little bit. I assume Grandpa Compson taught you how to do all this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he did.
I remember us boys, he taught us how to saddle up horses when we were kids, so we could saddle up the horses by ourselves and ride them all day.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. We could never put harnesses on, but
Yeah.
this one bigger? It looks bigger.
No, they're not the same size. Actually, they look not as big. Actually, the two biggest ones are still in the barn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was a pair that I bought, and they were used to working together, and that's why I'm just hooking them up, because they're more used to being hooked together. This mare here's a little quieter. Thing.
Is this pretty much your favorite team you've ever had, or?
Well, it's a good team. Yeah, it's probably as good a team as I've ever had. Yeah, I wouldn't say I've had any I like better than these two. The one on the left is a little more excitable.
Yeah, we saw that.
This one here is more calm, but they're both pretty good. You take some of them north spreader, but it'll get boring. It'll take me 10 or 15 minutes to get rid of that load.
Yeah.
So you take a little bit of it and then quit whenever you want to.
Yeah.
Save the battery. Woohoo! Back up. Back up. Back. Woo! Whoop. 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 Back up. Woo. Whoop. See, these are horses that stand like they're supposed to when you hook them.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want anything any wilder.
Pretty good. And the way this works is there's a belt in here that runs the manure back, and this right here gauges how fast the belt runs to get rid of it. And there's a thing over here that I kick in gear to kick all that junk back in there and start kicking it. So here we go.
All right.
Get up. Easy.
Andy's doing her part. What's the problem, Dad?
Huh?
What's the problem?
I finished.
Oh, you finished?
Oh, that manure's all spread.
Oh,
It didn't take as long as I thought it would.
yeah.
Yeah, we're finished.
Boy, that was
All I gotta do is unhook them.
pretty gross, though. My, my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the way a team of horses should stand. You know, when you a lot of horses you couldn't do this. You'd have to have one or two people up front holding them. They'd be wanting to get away, and these horses, like I say, they're well broke.
The Amish broke these, right?
Yeah, they were broke by an Amish guy. Yeah, a couple of nice horses. That's the reason I buy them up there. I don't have to fight with them. They're nice and safe to work. Come on, step up. Whoop. Whoop. Okay,
Good thing I didn't get too close.
swing G, huh?
Good thing I didn't get too close. You probably should have told me to keep my distance. Stuff flies.
Yeah, I got some on me.
I know.
Goes with the territory.
Watch your footing, Dad. That does not look safe. Looks like a loop that you can get your foot in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was another funny story I have to tell you a little bit about. One time I got tangled. My wrapped around my foot and the horse was dragging me down through the field. Woohoo! Yeah, I was throwing a horse one time with the ropes like Grandpa Compson did.
Right.
And what it is, you have a long rope and you're back behind the horse, way back behind it, and you pull that rope and it pulls their front feet up, and then they'll rear on their hind legs and walk on their hind legs, and eventually they have to fall down on their face, and then you got them under control. They can't get back up, and you can pet them and, you know, teach them that you're in control. But anyway, I threw a horse right there, Ralph Lewis, a black guy that used to come and visit with me,
Right.
good friend. And Ralph was here, and there was a fence there. It wasn't this same fence there, but Ralph was right here, and that horse took off running down through there, and I pulled the rope, and when I did, I tripped, and that rope made a wrap around my leg, and so that horse is dragging me down through the field, and it could have run off and just killed me with that rope hooked around my leg like that.
Oh.
And but Ralph acted like he was going to come and help me, but instead of running down through the gate here where he could get to me, he ran on the outside of the fence. But I was able, the horse dragged me for peace, and I was able to flip my leg, and the rope flipped off, and the horse went on.
Oh my goodness. Now, where did you meet Ralph?
Your mom and I, the first year when I got out of college, I couldn't find a job here in West Virginia. Doddridge County, Gilmer County, where your mom's from, they had no openings for me. I was an English teacher. And there was a place in Front Royal, Virginia that was looking for a librarian. Well, your mom was a librarian. They wanted her because they really needed a librarian. They didn't have one. They didn't really need an English teacher, but they made a space for me to get her.
Huh.
So she and I moved to Front Royal, Virginia, and so that's where I met Ralph. He was a senior in high school, black guy, good athlete, played basketball and everything, and so he came over to our apartment and visited with us a lot, and Ralph and I ran around together. And I remember one time I ran out of gasoline right there in Front Royal, Virginia, and Ralph had to get behind and push my car, and I got out and was steering it and pushing. We pushed it to a gas station down the street there. But Ralph used to come up. There's a picture of him in video. We've got it sitting on the front porch, I think feeding Aaron a bottle of milk.
That's
Might have
me.
been you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was
I've
Ralph
got it.
Lewis.
Yeah, I remember he used to come in the summers.
Yeah, he'd come and spend a week. Usually spend a week with us. And yeah, Ralph was a good guy. We really liked him. I'll just leave these harnesses on and put the horses back in the barn for now, and then I'll later this evening I may hook them back up. I've got some more manure to load in that thing, and I may do that before dark.
Now, he was an athlete, but he was not your stereotypical what you think of a black person you see on TV. He was more into like classical and jazz and
Right.
reading and.
Yeah, he went to the Shenandoah Conservatory of College and Conservatory of Music, but he wasn't into music. I mean, I guess he liked music, but he went on a scholarship. He played basketball there at Shenandoah College. Yeah, I haven't seen Ralph for a long time.
Yeah, I'd like to chase him down sometimes,
Yeah, I'd like to
see what he's
see
into.
what Ralph's doing too. See, these horses aren't even tied up. They're just
I know.
standing here. Sometimes I'll unhook one, take the harness off and leave it and turn it loose. The other one will still be standing here. Tired just in case. Get rid of this one. If you want to back there and get a video, Brad, you got the gum boots on, I'll go with you. But
Yeah.
back there and get a video of that big colt.
Oh yeah.
He's back here. They won't kick you.
Nah.
I'll walk behind them first. Ooh, girl. Get up. Oop. Yeah, you can go on back there and see nobody. There's that big colt. Look how big he is.
Wow. Yeah, I see why you kept her back.
Yeah, he's much bigger.
Wow. Oh, this is a boy or a
Yeah,
gelding?
It's a stud colt. Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
stud
male.
colt.
Yeah, I may use him to breed the mares with one of these days. Yeah, he's nice and quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, he's beautiful. Man, these are massive. These things are like elephants.
Yeah, these are big. These two back here are bigger than the ones I worked.
Oh yeah, I can see.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
big.
They're bigger.
How much these weigh?
They're probably close to 2,000 pounds, the bigger ones. These two up here, probably 18 or 1,900, I'd guess.
Okay.
Well, unless you want to go up there and let's see, we didn't get a pic. We need to go up here and do Uncle Ronnie's trailer that he built.
Yeah.
John Deere riding mower.
Yeah.
Down here. If you want to do something else down here, I'll get all this stuff later. Yeah, we didn't get Uncle Ronnie's trailer he built.
That goat barn up there, that's been up there for.
Oh yeah, that's been there forever. Jared helped me. That's the 10 off of Grandma Cumpston's house.
Ah.
And it's still good 10. Jared helped me put that on. Last summer we put all new 2x4s underneath of it. Trying to keep the old building lasting.
Now, what kind of truck is this?
That's a Ford F-350 diesel. It's a 2016 model. I bought it new. That's the only new truck I've ever bought.
If you're gonna buy one new, that's the one to buy.
Now, that's a nice one. That's a showpiece. I like it. I put a lot of miles on it. I think it's got about 80,000 miles on it already.
Oh wow.
But this trailer right here, Brad, this is the one that Uncle Ronnie built. And he built this he just bought the metal and cut it and welded it. And this is all stuff that he did all by hand. And I've used this thing, it's probably 30 years old. Now I put all new boards on it, a few months ago. The old boards were getting rotted out. But Uncle Ronnie built this trailer. It's a very heavy duty, handy trailer for hauling a lot of things.
Perfect son-in-law for Grandpa, wasn't
Oh
he?
yeah, you couldn't beat Grandpa or Uncle Ronnie. Uncle Ronnie's like a brother to me, just as good as a brother, and he's helped me a lot. Uncle Ronnie and I have done a lot of things together, and
You guys were in the satellite business.
yeah, Uncle Ronnie and I installed satellite dishes for several years. We did a lot of traveling, and we worked weekends, worked nights. I'd get home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and get back to work the next morning. Uncle Ronnie and I worked together a lot, and we've had a lot of fun. Uncle Ronnie and I have, and he's a character. This is the John Deere riding mower. It's a diesel mower. It's a real nice mower. It's all-time 4-wheel drive.
You like this better than the 360 you had?
Yeah, I like this better than the zero turn. Yeah, I like it better. It rides better too.
I know that zero turn, I almost flipped it over a few times.
Yeah, it was easy to upset.
Oh, there's the forks for your,
Yeah, that's the forks right there that goes on when you take the bucket off. Got the switch lift connector on the back. Real easy to hook.
now what's this thing here, Dad?
That's a drag, like to drag your meadows and level things out. You have, dirt and stuff you want to level, you just pull that. hooks to the chains there on the front. It's a really good, it belongs to Troy Gunn. I just borrowed it, never took it back yet.
So horse drawn or
You
tractor?
could use horses with a four-cart hooked to that, or I used a tractor with it. Yeah, Uncle Ronnie and I've had a lot of fun together.
He did all the mechanical, technical work, and you did the.
I did the grunt labor. I dig the ditches and crawl underneath the house and drill holes through the floor. Uncle Ronnie did the brain work.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Grandma Compston always told Aunt Trannis that when she married Ronnie, because Grandma just loved Uncle Ronnie. And she always said, now Trannis, if you and Ronnie ever have an argument, I'm going to take Ronnie's side.
I doubt they ever had an argument.
No, they never had an argument because anytime you ask what they're going to do, Ronnie always says, what do you think, Hun? And whatever Hun thinks is what Ronnie thinks. They've never had an argument.
No.
Aunt Trannis has been a wonderful sister. She took me and Uncle Jim in, about 20 years ago. He had heart surgery and he needed a place to stay and somebody to take care of him for about a month. And I had surgery on my esophagus and stomach where they cut me open and I was in bad shape, laid up for about a month. So Aunt Trannis took me and Uncle Jim in, and we had our own bedrooms, and she kept food in front of us and took care of us. Yeah, she's a sister and a half.
Oh, obviously, she really took care of Uncle Jim.
Oh yeah, she always took care of Uncle Jim. And Grandma Compston took care of him.
Oh yeah.
Everybody liked Uncle Jim. Well, you want to take a break and eat, Brad, or do you want to tape and then eat? It's whatever you want to do.
I'm probably up for eating. Let me get my equipment.
I'm good either way. Rock's been a couple of days.
Yeah, that's what she told me.
Oh, that's right. You talked to her on the phone. You told her you were heading out. Yeah.
Before you start cooking, Dad, we'll get a tour of the house because we'll use this GoPro to.
Okay. Well, wait till I get.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, this is the dining kitchen area, and originally when you lived here, there was a wall that went from right here, where this board is, over to that board is there. So there's a wall right here,
Right.
and there was a door right here. So that was the dining room right there, and then you walked in here, and this was the kitchen. As you can see, that'd make a pretty small kitchen. But then when we put a new floor in this room and everything, I had the guys knock that wall out and make this a bigger room. But a lot of these are cabinets that Aaron and Maria gave me and Connie when they replaced their cabinets. So they gave us some of the cabinets, particularly those over there that you're looking at now.
Got plenty of cabinet space around here.
Yeah. Connie likes that. And of course, this is the main bathroom in here. And this is laundry, washer and dryer, and a hot water tank, and everything in there. And here's Connie's bathroom. Actually, this was a room that some of the men in the church fixed up for your mom when she had to do dialysis.
Right.
They fixed this room up so we have a sanitary room. We had to hook her up to a machine. I did it here at home for a while, and so they while we were in the hospital getting ready to bring her home, they came down and did this whole bathroom for us. And then the church did.
Before that, it was actually my bedroom for a while.
That's right.
It's hard to believe that it seemed much bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a tiny room for
For a bedroom.
a bedroom.
Yeah.
But
And of course, this is our main bedroom in here. Got my exercise machine that I don't use as often as I should. It's a good machine.
oh, that's perfect right there. That's
Yeah.
a beautiful elliptical.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's what I use.
Yeah. These are the closets. I built the closets. And
These are the same closet doors when we were kids.
yeah, oh yeah. It's been here forever.
Uh,
That's the old original paneling I put in here. Now Connie came up with the idea for that light and fan. She likes that. That's pretty nice.
now, Grandma Compton always thought this house was haunted, but
Oh yeah, she wouldn't live here. There's no way.
after the flood, she hardly ever even come down.
Yeah.
It's hard to
And
believe.
Oh yeah, she wouldn't come back to this house. She always thought it was haunted.
But you,
This is a table we got up in Amish country, and it spreads out and puts 2 more big leaves in it. So it's a big, nice big table.
yeah,
It's got the chairs that match.
and they're comfortable too.
Oh yeah, yeah, those are nice chairs. Yeah. This is the living room. Another exercise machine. That's where I threw my clothes. Computer room and little hallway right in here. Coat closet and whatnot. Here's some pictures of some beautiful girls. And then this is a little closet that goes back in here underneath the steps that go upstairs. And the story was that there was a man and woman lived in here one time, and the woman kind of went crazy, and she got a butcher knife after the man, and he ran in there in that little closet and hid.
Oh my goodness.
This is the steps that used to come bouncing down
Oh yeah.
from the top to the bottom, and right there on the wall. Handprints would be right there. We call this the blue room. Got blue carpet and blue walls. Connie helped me do all this. I think she did all the painting. And Connie came up with the idea for the carpet. And these are just closet spaces here I built. This is Brady's room when he comes, and the girls, they sleep over here sometimes. TV in here, of course. This is over here, we call this the red room. It's got the red carpet and red covers, and Connie did the border, and she did the painting and everything.
I recognize that. That's
Yeah, that was what we had down in our bedroom for a long time. That was our old bedroom
yeah,
chest of drawers.
yeah. This used to be my room. Also.
Yeah, we used to have water beds up here.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, this was your and Mom's room for a while. Then it was my room, and the boys had the other side was theirs.
Yeah.
What's this? Oh, cots.
These are the cots, yeah.
Will you get enough bedding?
I thought you'd want to go in and take a picture of the,
Long room.
Connie calls it the cheese room.
Oh, she's renamed it.
Store the cheese. Yeah, we always call it the long room.
Yeah.
Just a storage space.
Yeah, it's
Of course, once every year or two, I'll tackle cleaning all this out and reorganizing it. And next thing you know, it's all piled back up again.
yeah. Got a lot of paint back there.
Yeah. Of course, this is a tin roof right here. That's the roof on the house.
Huh. This place used to be full of bees. I would always be scared to go in there. A little closet between the two.
Yeah, that's
It goes between two doors.
Yeah, you go from one bedroom to the next, right through that little hallway. Of course, this is the window that Pap Gumpston got stuck in from the bees. He was right there. He had his hands inside here on the floor and his back end, his legs out on the porch, and he was just sitting there. He made himself get his head in. That's all he cared about. I had to dump him on in here so I could get in.
Just leave those, Dad. I'll get those. Those are too heavy.
Yeah, they're not bad. Okay. All right, that's the red room and the blue room. And this is my grandfather, Edward L. Compton. You probably can't see it for no better light in here, but that's my grandfather. He passed away before I was born.
Now he's the one that originally lived in this house. He bought it.
Oh yeah.
And he's also the one that basically put together the funds for the entire farm.
Oh yeah. He bought all the royalty and stuff that's helped my dad and mom financially and helped me. And yeah, he was the one. He worked for an oil gas company. Grandpa Ed did. So
Right.
he knew how valuable oil and gas were.
This has always been your go-to here, pancakes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm famous for being a pancake maker. Yeah, I trained Keelan and Rachel and Rebecca, and a lot of people trained to make pancakes. Keelan can do it all by himself. I mean, he can do his own batter, turn the pancakes, he can make eggs. Keelan's a pretty good cook.
Did Grandma Compton teach you how to cook, or?
No, I just, I don't make hardly anything but breakfast foods. That's about all I can make.
Right.
Connie's a good cook.
Oh, yes.
She's a great cook. I got that a little too thin. I'm gonna have to put some more stuff in it.
Yeah, these are delicious. Now, do you like pancakes or waffles better, Dad?
I like waffles better.
Yeah.
There's just something about, they're the same batter exactly.
Right.
There's something about the waffle.
Yeah. Texture of it.
Put a little bit of grain in it. You know.
How many cats do you have, Dad?
Oh, 10. 10 cats. 10 more than I need, but boy, they keep the rats down.
How many goats do you have?
Don't have any. We sold the goats.
Oh, you sold all the goats.
Yeah.
That's right. Are you going to buy some back next?
Probably in the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say probably will. College want sheep. I don't know, get goats or sheep. Get something put over here. I want to keep that little place eaten down.
Tell you what, baby lambs are absolutely the cutest thing in the world.
Oh, they are sheep.
Grandpa Compton used to have sheep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you need to keep sheep.
I don't know how good they are at keeping down the brush, though.
They eat different. They don't eat brush as much as goats. Goats are more of a brush eater.
Can you have a mix, or do they get along?
No. Oh, yeah, they get along. Yeah, you can keep some sheep, some goats. Yeah, they get along fine. Oh, boy, I just got my boots.
You still keep that donkey with your goats, or I guess that's.
No,
I guess the goats are gone, so.
Right.
Those things could hurt you without meaning to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if they step on you, you're hurting.
Right there, if you'd had that thing tied up, it would have cut you in two.
This next mare that I'm going to bring out is She's really prancing.
Careful, Dad. My goodness. Hey, Candy. Hey, baby girl. Want some loving? Yeah. You're a good girl. It's hard to get Dad to settle down. I finally talked him into putting the horses up. He was wanting to get back on his manure spreader and spend more time spreading manure, but my goodness, it's raining out here. He's got a massive surgery coming up in like 2 days. He does not need to get sick. So I convinced him to put the horses up and go in and take it easy. I'm sure he's got projects he'll probably be doing inside his pole building or whatnot, but he doesn't need to be out here in this rain. Dad built this fence shortly after he was diagnosed stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I mean, this is before his remission. I mean, can you imagine being diagnosed with something like that and then saying, I'm going to undertake a project where I paint all of these poles and, you know, build this big fence, this big corral. That's Dad. Alright, you got everything put up?
I gotta leave that one cold out and turn it loose.
Oh, is that little cold? Oh, good, yeah.
That big one.
Yeah. It's not going to be happy because its mom's not up there.
Well, it wasn't with its mom, but it was with the little colt. The two colts are running down here together.
Oh.
It's going to be lonely. Yeah, it won't be happy.
Oh, I forgot the other colt. It's already gone.
Right. I'll turn the electric back on here a little bit because it may want to try to get out.
Oh, you're going to put it back into this field.
Back in here. This is a good field here to hold stuff.
Yeah.
Go get it and bring it out. Put it in there.
Time's Connie supposed to come back?
She'll be back tomorrow evening, I'd say. Yeah, she'll be back tomorrow evening.
Wow, he's beautiful.
He's big, isn't he?
Yeah. How old is he?
About 8 months, maybe. Yeah, I trained him to lead. I lead him in the barn. Oh boy. I lead him in the barn every day and lead him back out and turn him loose so he's used to being led. The other colt, I never led it, hardly any.
Did they have any problems when they saw her? Or?
He seemed perfectly happy with it.
Good.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I didn't realize. I thought they were like some of your friends were here. I came with that camera. I bet they probably weren't too comfortable. I said, this will be some good footage.
I never thought about that.
I said, this will make some good footage.
You just stand there, Brad.
Yeah.
Close the gate, so I'll close this gate for him. Let him run out of there. He'll move back when that gate comes up closer.
I didn't realize it was Amish. And then even then I was thinking, oh, it's just some of his friends. But those are just somebody you don't even know, really.
No, just an Amish guy that happened to see it ad in the Farm and Dairy.
Right. Okay, we're ready.
Okay. I need to get Rambo and take him up and get rid of him, so I have Rambo get the other horses out.
Okay. This Ranger comes in handy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't want to do without this. Aaron bought the first Ranger, had and just gave it to me for a gift.
I remember.
That's very generous, very wonderful sons, that's for sure.
Okay, make sure you like, subscribe, and you can check me out at bradctv.com. I forgot to do an intro and an exit.
It's raining about doing that, Brad. You'll melt.